Hey everyone, and welcome to our third Here for Youth podcast on YouTube. Today, our topic of discussion is health and coping ideas, quarantine edition. I am Arjun Kalra,
And I'm Adele Pagura.
and today we'll be talking about different strategies to take care of both your mental and physical health during the pandemic, how to overcome a lack of motivation during these times, different counseling groups to help connect with the community, different healthy versus unhealthy coping strategies, as well as personal feedback and stories that we received from people through our Google form about this podcast. Adele, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll be going for a few ideas for coping with mental health during this time. I know it could be super isolating, especially that we've practically been in our rooms the whole school year. But one thing that could be extremely helpful is, of course, reaching out with our friends and family, even discussing feelings of concern with them. As an introvert, I found this pretty stressful during the beginning, especially because I wasn't really
Mhm.
sure how or when I could reach out to people. But even having somebody on FaceTime as you are working just for company can be so helpful. And I found even writing letters, I especially like writing letters and sending them off and getting feedback from them just to let them know how much I appreciate them, how much I miss them. I think that's really important.
That's so cool, Adele. I definitely want to try writing letters to my friends. Even though I'm an extrovert, I still found it so difficult to connect with my friends, especially during the winter months when everyone was disconnected. But I just realized how much happier I am when I do get to connect with the people that I love and the people that I enjoy talking to. So that definitely benefited my mental health.
Yeah, for sure. Another great coping mechanism we can use, and I know many people did this at the beginning, is taking up a new purposeful hobby. In my case,
Yeah.
I figured out that I liked making friendship bracelets, like the embroidery bracelets with the knotting, and making those for my friends, sending them through the letters I was writing, and seeing their reactions was so fun to me. And finding a new passion and setting goals, doing the things you love, can be really rewarding in the end, especially during a time where everything can kind of feel mundane.
Yes, I definitely found that setting goals for myself kept me feeling a little bit more organized and sensible. And they can even be small goals just relating to my daily habits that just make me feel more rewarded once I have completed them.
For sure. And lastly, one thing I wanted to touch on is making sure we take breaks from the news, from social media. It can be really easy to compare our lives with others through social media and how they're dealing with the pandemic, but we have to realize that people only really post the positives unless it's something that they really need to speak about. And so we need to remember that it's not healthy for comparison, although it can be very hard.
Of course.
It's important to take those breaks.
Yes, and just touching on stuff that Adele touched on, I would like to transition to coping ideas that one can use for their physical health, which is also super important to take care of during these times. Physical activity and exercise is an amazing way to cope, as it just helps you feel better about your body. I know that I took frequent bike rides and walks, and it just helped me feel a little bit more healthier and a little bit more better just in general. I know that getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, and eating healthily, just maintaining a balanced diet can be amazing for your body. It's very important to take care of your body during these times.
Yeah, and I think in terms of physical health, it's also really important to establish a routine, although it could be hard with staying at home and going to bed earlier, waking up for school at the same time. It could be really hard, but creating a
Mhm.
routine is really important to take care of our physical health as well, even though it can seem difficult.
Yeah, the importance of physical health is also emphasized by Here for Youth, as we try to hold yoga workshops, meditation workshops, dancing workshops, just because we recognize that it's very important to take care of your physical health during these times. And even yourself, you can find things on YouTube, on Google, yoga, Zumba, dancing, meditation, just to take care of yourself more and just be a little bit more physical, as we know how rewarding that can be.
Plus, exercising releases endorphins, natural
Yes.
painkiller, and mood booster. We love that. And although these are all great strategies to use in quarantine and outside, there are unfortunately a few unhealthy coping strategies that I'm sure a lot of us are guilty of using every once in a while. One of them being toxic positivity. Although it can be good to be positive in most circumstances, and it's good to find that silver lining, it is also really important to acknowledge even our negative feelings because it's part of that acceptance that we can really feel what we're feeling in that moment, realize what can I control, what can't I control, and act on the right decisions to change things for the better out of the things you can control. Another one is definitely isolation, which kind of counteracts with our meeting with friends or virtually meeting with friends and family. It can be extremely lonely. You just are engulfed in loneliness. I remember at the beginning in the winter lockdown, I was in my room. I felt caged in. It was a terrible feeling. So I recommend not isolating yourself. Reach out to your friends, your family if they're available to you. And going in with our social media, taking a break, social comparison is definitely something we want to try and avoid at times, and romanticizing and reliving in the past.
Yeah, I can definitely want to touch on the romanticizing and reliving the past, as I often found myself thinking about life before this whole pandemic hit and how amazing it was. But I realized that it's a much better thing to do to focus on the present and how we can make the best out of the situation that we're in.
Yes, for sure. And then
And
there's so much to look forward to in the future as well.
of course. Yes, totally. And another way to healthily cope during these times is by participating in many group activities virtually and counseling groups that also hold virtual calls. So meeting new groups of people can be really beneficial for a person, and these things can be totally confidential. You can create a safe space to share about your worries and experiences. I heard something about Appeal holding an event. Adele, would you like to touch on that?
Yeah, I actually joined one of the Peel counseling groups. It was one for coping with stress during COVID. And it was really great because I got to meet people from a few different schools and we created a safe space together. Everything was totally confidential. And we really worked on learning how to accept our feelings during this time where something unimaginable has happened
Of
and
course.
moving forward with how we can cope with these feelings.
That sounds amazing. I would definitely want to check that out if they have that again. And another way to connect with groups of people is through school extracurriculars such as Here for Youth. We created so many sessions and gatherings on Tuesdays, such as just dance sessions, yoga sessions, that really brought people together and really engaged people to connect with more people. And I also know that Eco Team also does these events on Fridays. What did they do last Fridays, Adele? Do you recall?
I believe they were planting seedlings for a herb garden. I thought it was really cool. Unfortunately, I didn't
That
get to
sounds
go, but
so
it was cool.
cute. Well, I'm sure a lot of people went, and it was super fun. But yeah, keep in tune for Here for Youth and Eco Team and extra curriculars at Mayfield that are really helping engage different groups of people together.
Yeah, and it's definitely a good place to start. Moving on, we have a few stories sent in or responses to our Google form that we sent out about a week ago. Our Google feedback form will always go out about a week before our podcast episode airs, so be sure to look into that if you wish to be included. Our first question was, how has the way you've coped with different feelings changed since we first entered lockdown? And the general summary was most of the strategies have stayed the same. However, the time has made it easier for more toxic strategies to develop, such as closing oneself off from the world and eating unhealthy food. I personally
Hmm.
think these are really relatable. Of course, I'm sure a few of us, if not most of us, have fallen into these traps every once in a while, but finding people who can support you through this time virtually or like through over text, social media, whatever, is really important. And creating a routine, like we were saying earlier, can really help you develop healthier habits to help break these unhealthy ones.
Yes, and this question definitely relates to the next question, which talked about coping mechanisms that people use that did not yield positive results. And a lot of responses that we got were media, because of media, as people used media such as the news, social media, and watching TV shows, movies as a form of procrastination or just wasting time that doesn't feel as rewarding as healthier coping mechanisms would. And it kind of relates to just pushing things off to the side and not focusing on the present, which is really important to do, as we've mentioned.
For sure. Our next question was, what are some of your favorite coping mechanisms? And many of them, I'm sure, are very popular, such as listening to music, connecting with others, getting exercise in, and staying busy. And I'm sure staying busy would also consider being productive, which is counteractive to procrastination. And all of these I can relate to. We love our music. We love laughing, chatting up with our friends on
Yes.
Zoom. Zoom stocks rose. Um,
Yes. It's so fun. And this can transition into the next question. Do you feel that coping mechanisms that you use currently are helpful to you, and how so? And everyone who answered mentioned that yes, they are helpful, most of them. These mechanisms keep people's minds off the bad things going on in the world, and they recognize that music is therapeutic for them almost, like it makes them feel better. Talking to their friends makes them happy, and napping is relaxing. And Adele, would you like to touch on napping?
Yes, after reading this, I did so much research about napping, and I found that different naps, different time lengths of naps could help you focus on different things. So, for example, a 30-minute nap specifically is considered a quote unquote bad nap because it creates a sleep hangover, whereas a
Mm,
26-minute nap can optimize your alertness. And I think that's so cool. And an hour and a half minute nap could really be beneficial if you're studying for a big test because it increases your brain's capacity for procedural memory. And I thought that was so awesome.
that's amazing.
And that about wraps up our podcast for today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. If you want to keep updated on all our podcast episodes and our Here for Youth events, don't forget to check out our Instagram at Mavs Here for Youth, MAVSHEAR, the number 4 youth on Instagram, and DM us for your suggestions for further podcast ideas.
Yes, we hope you learned something new, and we hope you enjoyed listening to Adele and I talk about healthy coping ideas, quarantine edition. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye, see ya.